Welcome to our course on port scanning. Our goal here is to help you understand how ports in a device can be scanned, how a hacker can potentially break into your network through the ports, and how you may take countermeasures to protect your device or also protect your network, which is equally as important. First, let me give a brief introduction to network scanning. Then we will dwell on port scanning. Do you know what protocol is being used by most network services and programs? It is TCP/IP. TCP/IP network protocol was designed by a group within the US Department of Defense in the 1970s. It has been around for 40 years. Can you believe that this technology is that old? Many variants and technologies soon followed, but people continue to use it.
Okay, services listen through the ports. A client can contact a service and establish a connection. The intent could be to transfer information or request services. Now let me turn our attention to our point of discussion. We can scan the ports on a server. The ports return a response. It's really indicating that the port is open and a service is listening on it. Now that's really a short definition of port scanning. So here we go. In this specific module, port scanning, we'll discuss port scanning tips, ping, the TCP/IP stack, the three-way handshake mechanism, TCP flags, Nmap, TCP connect scan, half-open scan, stealth scan, as well as UDP port scan. And we're also going to introduce you to a few scanning tools. Then we will briefly talk about packet crafting, OS fingerprinting, and TCP fragment scanning. We'll conclude with a few recommendations on countermeasures, and that you can really take and implement to prevent any hackers getting onto your vulnerable ports.
Correct. And let's quickly explain what ports are. Now, ports are a software abstraction used to distinguish between communication channels. And ports identify specific applications in use on a single machine.
That's right.
Now, what then do you think is port scanning? Now, port scanning is a set of actions we perform to remotely test numerous ports to determine their current status. In other words, we are trying to see if they are open, and if so, do we need to check for any vulnerabilities. Now, the most often found status of a port is open status, or open state, that's correct. Now, the application is listening when it is in open state and accepting connections to a port or on the port. Now, port scan is a simple software used to distinguish between communication channels.
That's right, Laura. Now, before we go any further, I think we need to compare ports to IP addresses. IP addresses are used to find the machines in a network. Ports are used to find a particular application on a single device. You can really have many ports on a machine for an IP address. And let me tell you more about very common ports. For HTTP URLs, or the web browser, those are going to be, by default, connect to TCP port 80. Now, if the HTTPS protocol is used, the browser will try the port 443. So HTTP port 80, HTTPS, or HTTP security, port 443.